a choice right now, between fear and love. It's just a rock.
Out of the dark night of ignorance and into the shining light of truth.
Expanding reality.
A population of citizens capable of critical thinking.
We don't see things as they are, we see them as we are.
There's a level of reality where everything dissolves into an ocean of energy.
We empower our experience by insisting on our authenticity.
That's very profound. Very.
Expanding reality.
Welcome to Expanding Reality. I am your host, Brandon Thomas. On this episode, guys, an incredibly special one. Jose Miguel Perez Gomez comes by. He is, of course, the Venezuelan explorer and archaeologist that Ben Tejada Ingram talks about in his book, The Last Dinosaur of the Lost World. We just had Ben on just a little bit ago, and now we're talking to the archaeologist who that story is based on, and he is fascinating. You guys are absolutely going to love this. We talk about his brand new discovery that is, some of you will be seeing if you go see the video version, because he's got a ton of pictures that I'm putting in this. As a heads up for the audio only audience, go check out the video because you will be the first to see this. There's probably been, I think he said, about 15 people that have seen these pictures, and you guys will be among the first. So go check out the video for sure, linked in the show notes, about his Amerindian pictographs that he discovered on this incredible boulder. Guys, this story is fascinating. Not only that, we also talk about his discovery of a French fleet, as well as a Spanish fort that has El Dorado rings to it. It's unbelievable, guys. This is such a whimsical man, and he's just got so many cool perspectives and philosophies, as well as he's just brilliant, absolutely brilliant. You're just going to love this. I'm so excited. Okay, so before we get to all that, check out some of the resource links in our show notes down there, as well as all the ways to find Jose Miguel. Food Forest Abundance, of course. Libsyn, if you'd like to start your own podcast. Amazon, if you're going to buy anything from there, run it through our link because it helps the show. Truly grateful for that, guys. As well as Opus, the Organization for Paranormal Understanding and Support, linked down there for all of your needs of that sort. While you're down there as well, check out expandingrealitypodcast.com. Now, that is where the video for this will be, full of all the pictures, guys. You're definitely going to want to check out all of this information. It's just fascinating. As well as all the socials, lives are replayed there, links to everything, the merch, all that good stuff can be found there. One link's all you need, expandingrealitypodcast.com. Okay, now let's get to this, guys. Unbelievable conversation with Jose Miguel Perez Gomez. All right, ladies and gentlemen, an extremely special episode. We have Jose Miguel Perez Gomez hanging out with us today. Of course, Venezuelan explorer and archaeologist, rock climber, mountaineer, survival expert, skydiver, one of the first scuba divers to explore some flooded caves in South America, 40-year guide expert. Dude, you've done it all. Any one of the things that I just listed is a lifetime achievement for most people, but you were just like, I'm just going to do all of it, and it's just going to be the most incredible life ever. So I'm extremely excited to speak with you. And how we met was, of course, through Ben Tejada Ingram's book, The Lost World, The Last Dinosaur of the Lost World. Here, My Search for Little Nessie. This is your story. He was, this is what he wrote about, and so I had to reach out and connect with you. And of course, you've been just one of the most incredible people I've ever spoken to, so I cannot wait to introduce you to my audience. On that note, do you mind just telling us a little bit more about yourself than I just read off for you there?
Well, listen, first of all, I want to take the chance to say thanks for having me in your show. For me, it's an honor, considering the extraordinary people you've been having here. So for me, it's a real honor. So thank you very much for that. Well, I am an ordinary person having an extraordinary life. I've been exploring for the last 42 years of my life, combining it with a passion, which is archaeology. And basically, this is it. This is all what I have to say. I am very, very happy, for this extraordinary life that I'm having, but I'm an ordinary person, just like you.
It's so funny. Yes, because I know people that do what you do all the time. This is just people I meet all the time. I'm like, ugh, you're going to go discover a new Spaniard fort in the middle of a river in South America? Cool. I mean, there's 20 other people I know that are doing this. You're a remarkable dude. I mean, this is what's so amazing about this too, is because you're so humble. And you and I have had a conversation before this, but your spiritual ideas, your concepts, your philosophies, I mean, any of that stuff, we could spend years just talking about, you and I. But let's talk about some of your work here. So you have an exciting new discovery that for the audio-only audience, I'm going to be putting some pictures that he sent me that are remarkable in the show notes. So you guys check the link down below titled expandingrealitypodcast.com, so where you can see the full video for free on our website. And it's going to have a montage of incredible images that you guys are definitely going to want to enjoy associated with this story. So the archaeology of the lost world, we're talking about realities frozen in time. What is your latest discovery?
Well, this discovery is related to some rock art paintings that I saw the first time 12 years ago. And they are located in a very, very remote area that is only accessible by helicopter means. You can go there walking, but it will take you like 1.5 weeks to go and another 1.5 weeks to come back to just the place where you have to be landing there with a plane. So they're very, very remote. They have never been seen before. Actually, the Indians, they do know them well. And actually, they do not really can connect them through their own past, because the Indians living in these places, the Pemons or the Pemones, they do not continue these traditions. So for them, there is a mystery with those paints. They are more recently than the paints, which actually right now can be between 4,000 and 7,000 years old before the present.
It's fascinating. So how did you come to discover these?
Well, a helicopter friend of mine, Henry de Viana, he's now passed away. He told me about these rock paintings. And so once I was in the area doing another exploration on top of the Chimanta Plateau. These are very, very extraordinary mountains that they're flat on top. And they rise over the savannas for thousands of meters. And I was exploring that particular mountain, and I was close to this area that my friend told me, so I decided to go there. And when I got there, I got stunned. I really got astonished for what I saw. And I knew immediately that I was in front of a very, very remarkable place. And I decided to go ahead and study them.
Well, it's incredible. And so you found a boulder. So tell me about what you found and what does that boulder represent to the indigenous?
Well, it's very interesting because this is a huge boulder. It's like a 40-meter diameter boulder. And this is covered all around, it's circular. And it's covered all around with paintings. And these paintings, they're different in different places. And it's very funny because I have been already 4 times there. And every time I go, I found new pictures. I don't know if the people from the past is putting them for fun. And so I am seeing them as new because before I didn't see them. This is something very, very interesting. Well, also the areas surrounding the savannas, they get burned. And this burning of the vegetation, they allows you to go into other places of the boulder that you weren't able to see before. But it's interesting. Every time I go, I find more pictures, and I consider these pictographs right now are probably some of the most relevant in the northern part of the continent at the moment. And this is just coming out like bread from the oven.
Well, it's fascinating, too, because this boulder separates 2 rivers. And so it's right in the middle geographically where it's located is very interesting. And again, guys, I'm putting pictures of this up as he's explaining it. Go check these out. It is absolutely fascinating. So when you first walked up to the boulder the first time, what was the feeling that you got?
Well, the feeling was something that is being a condition in most of my expeditions, is the sense of wonder. the sense of entering into the unknown, into something which was mysterious until you got there. Something that remained like frozen in time, but all of a sudden somebody's there to look at it and bring it back, you know? And this is what amazed me the most. And this condition of amazement is what keeps me going, you know? This last expedition was this boulder. But my expeditions that I had in the past, there were other boulders in other shapes and other types and in other places that right now you can construct a chain, you can make a connection, and you can realize that accessing these places, it's all because of this act of amazement, you know, something that probably we have when we're kids, but we lost or lose when we are older, you know, and this is something that has to be very important to keep in mind, you know, this sense of amazement.
I could not agree more. And that's what this gave me. Whenever I'm reading through your work and you sent me this incredible paper that you wrote on this brand new discovery, like you said, I'm probably the 15th person to ever see these images or these rock arts besides the people that created them. And so your orientation map, the boulder plan and panel orientation, again, guys, and putting it up now in the video, it shows this omnidirectional layout of the boulder. And you even have a marked cave on there, which I want to ask you about, springs. It's just fantastic. The way that you documented this, it's so precise, even to the degree orientation located on a compass. It's absolutely fascinating. So again, in the show notes, guys, expandingrealitypodcast.com, go check it out. Video audience right here. Unbelievable stuff. So what did you find in the cave? Was there anything cool of note in that?
Well, it's very interesting, your question, because when I first saw the cave was a very little cave. You know, it was a very, very little cave that, you know, I was there inside and probably 3 or 4 people could only fit into the cave. And this last trip, the cave moved and became wider, actually connected the whole bottom of the boulder. And I believe that this is probably the effect of water. I mean, this boulder is in some point that water flows through it. And now the cave is open. It's still a cave, but you can enter from one side and get out at the other side. Something amazing, something I didn't see before. And now that I have been looking at it, quite interesting to say that in one of the entrance of the cave, there is a group of paintings. You know, there is. I found like a very little hole that goes deep into the boulder's foot, let's say, and I think that this little hole connects the whole cave system. Okay, underneath. So I found paints on the entrance of this small little cave. And this is something that you can see in the Paleolithic in Europe. You know, caves, they had a mysterious sense and let's say a significance for those people. Caves, they were like the matrix, the womb, something where you know, things were coming out. It was something very mysterious, and it's not different from now. Regarding to this boulder that we're just developing in its study.
It's so stunning. This is such a cool thing. I just can't tell you, like I said, the wonder that you experienced there, I can't imagine. I'm experiencing it just reading. You know, this is one of those things, like a book can take you somewhere, or a good story can take you somewhere and make you really feel like you're there. And that's what this is. So it's amazing that we all feel like we're on this discovery with you, and it's mind-blowing, man. So let's talk about some of the art. So the yellow panel, you've broken these up into sections. So what is significant about the yellow panel, in your opinion?
Well, every panel has signs, but we do not know. When I say I talk about most of archaeologists. They really have no real clue of what those signs meant for those people in the past. we have some ideas, some approaches, what they could be, used for. And what we have come about to learn is that many of them, they were the result of magic actions in order to, achieve a good hunting, or, heal the body, or increase the fertility of the groups. So we're in front of a religious process here. We're not in front of some artist representation because of beauty of, the aesthetic of the science. Actually, we're looking at some rituals that were present into these walls along many, many years and many generations of these people. So this is why you see signs on top of the other and on top of the other. And when it gets reddish because of the amount of concentration, is because this has been a process of enacting rituals,
and layering.
And they were placing signs one on top of the other. But this is very interesting because I sent you two images for people to have an idea. And one of these images is actually how it is. This is in the yellow panel. And this is very interesting because this picture you're looking at, I didn't see it before. By the last time I was there, I didn't see this image. So this image is totally new. But there is something even more interesting. By applying some algorithms that are used by archaeologists in order to, let's say, reshape these images, to bring to your eye some other features, you have a combination of algorithms, and I send you these two images so you can see the difference from the one that you see with your bare eyes and the other one which is contrasted, how all of a sudden you have new signs coming to you, which are, they're called digits, and they're made with the fingertips. And it's a group of small dots that you see. And this is very interesting because at this very moment, you probably are the only 3 persons that have seen this already, or the 4, because this is not published. This is not published. And this is very interesting because it tells you something about reality. It tells you that our eyes, they're not telling us the whole story of what lies in front of us, And this is what makes it really, really interesting, that your eye just can go further. I mean, you need technology, and this is the beauty of the times we're living now. And making us go for new discoveries. And in archaeology, past places that have been worked, that have been studied and researched now, you go there with technology and you will be amazed because you will be finding more new things and you will be looking at it in a new, different way. So there will be more discoveries in the same place.
So interesting. This is kind of like LiDAR, how they're finding things under the jungle floor where you can't really see it with the naked eye, but there's a perceived technological advantage from being able to view them in this way and use that technique. Now, something interesting to what you said as well is these designs. These designs don't represent that we can really detect people or animals or anything like that, like you'd already spoken of, like the wonderful caves in Vienna. But what's really interesting about them is they are more ritualistic. So your interpretation on them being more of a religious or having some sort of spiritual significance is very interesting because they do. If you look at this, some of them look like Viking ruins or like sigils. To be honest with you, a lot of these look like magic sigils in some certain ways, with the dots, with the lines, with the trees, the X's, these long horizontal bars with vertical bars connecting them that may be some sort of timekeeping apparatus. And then you've also got the fact that they layer. Now, let me ask you this. I'm curious about whenever you see things, and I bring up Baalbek all the time, but there are countless examples of this. When you see a temple like Baalbek, it's obviously that the foundation and those foundational stones were built by a more advanced culture or just a different one at a different period of time. But the fact that they built something on top of it as well denotes that it was either just a really good foundation and they were like, man, this is great, we're just going to keep it, or that there's some sort of significance to the particular location and that establishing a new, I guess, temple or a new order, a new way of thinking, a new spiritual enlightenment on top of that same physical location, which, may draw into ley lines. We're talking about a lot of interesting stuff here. This Do you think in your mind that this is what's going on with these markings as well, and that's why they're layered? It's kind of like they were built on top, or what do you think the significance of that is?
This is a very interesting question what you're bringing, and in archaeology we have landscape archaeology as a tool to research not only the place where you find artifacts and you have been people have been habitating, but also the surrounding landscape. And it happens that you don't need to be too wise when you were next to this boulder to realize that the whole landscape had an impact on these people. These people, they were amazed probably by the landscape, because when you go there now and you look at the surroundings, and I send you some pictures of the surroundings of this boulder, when you look at them, the landscape is so mythical. It's so it's so out of this world that these people had to have some impact in their mind. So this boulder is connected to the landscape. It's an anchor to the landscape. They are connected to the landscape through these boulder paintings. So this is very, very important, because it's probably what you could say as a whole. What this does or did in these people was probably a feeling of identity. These people felt connected through the boulder with the landscape, and definitely the landscape impacted them. So it's paintings, the landscape, and the people. They're all connected. You can connect all these things. You know.
Absolutely, it's like a snapshot of time. It's reality's frozen in time, and you're just thawing them out, as you spoke earlier. I thought that was a great way of putting this. Now, let me ask you this: Have you been able to identify the culture? Because I've never seen rock art like this. I don't see it compared to anything else, but this is my limited observation. Have you been able to track this down to one specific group of folks, or connect it to any other similar pictographs in anywhere around the world?
Well, it's another interesting question, and these paintings are very similar to others that you can find now in places like in Africa. There's a culture, the San and the Koso. These are actual people that they perform similar signs. In the Upper Paleolithic in Cantabria, you have caves like El Castillo, for instance. That if you look at the signs there, they're very similar. But why is this? What's going on here? And what's going on is being already described by several specialists. I'm not a specialist on this. This is something I must confess to people. I'm not a specialist, but they're a specialist on this subject. And what they have come to realize is that when these people, they performed these signs, they were also on a consciousness altered of states. You know, their consciousness had an altered state, perhaps by chanting or by food privation, or perhaps by some substances that could affect their minds. So when this happens, there are phosphines that are located in your eye that get activated. So you see dots, you see zigzags, you see like square, like triangles, and even when you press your eye and rub it a little bit, you can actually see this sometimes. Perhaps at night when you're going to bed. So this is what some specialists, they consider that was happening. So this is why you can connect all these in different places. I mean, it's the same us at the end of the day. I mean, it's not about the places, it's about us. Somehow there is a connection with people's mind, and it's very interesting. It's very interesting because when I saw them for the first time, they say, "Hey, it looks similar to other places I have seen," and this is all about. I mean, these people, they were enacting rituals, and they were in altered states of consciousness, and they were connecting to their supernatural world.
Man, this is fascinating. The fact, though, that you said, there's just so much to unpack here. So the fact that you said that this was also mirrored in an African tribe, and they have a long relationship with psychedelics or mind consciousness alteration or enhancement, especially with psilocybin around the world, but also with iboga over there and the acacia in Africa, but then also all of the plant medicine spirits in South America, which are well known now. They're coming to be really well known. And so it's interesting that you put altered state of consciousness, because now that I look back at the pictographs that you sent and the pictures, yeah, they do resemble a people's trying to articulate religious significance in these altered or higher consciousness states, which they would have considered sacred. And so they're trying to take these designs and shapes and colors. And I love how you said rub your eye, because we all know what you're talking about. It's perfect, man. And then trying to take these things that they would have found significant spiritually and perhaps was like a gift or a key or something being offered to them, and then articulating them in a physical way, which we all know, and we talk about psychedelics a lot on this show, man. When you attempt to articulate your trip, it's very difficult. It's almost damn near impossible, and you end up getting more confused just attempting to bring it from the spiritual to the physical to let people know about it, let alone depicting it on a two-dimensional surface with your finger and red dye. It's interesting the level of disconnect that you go through from the experience to articulation. But the attempt that they made here is fascinating. And now when I look back at it as, attempts to recreate a psychedelic trip and gets religious significance out of it, because you do feel that during the trip, and you just come back and you're like, oh, I want to tell everybody and write this down. And then it's like a dream. If you wait a little too long, you get fuzzy and then you forget it altogether. It's like there's a moment in there where you have access to this information. And so it's very interesting that these seemingly disconnected cultures, which is another huge revelation here, that were either in contact with one another, or we talk about the 100th monkey effect. This is where, something in South America pops up, but they're also doing the same thing in Egypt, and the architecture and similar things. Now, they could have been connected, which is very just mind-blowing in itself, but also it could have been some sort of psychic influence to where we're all really dialed in at this point in humanity's history, to where they came up with something over here and the other people came up with something across the pond that had no physical connection, but maybe we didn't need physical connection for that to be an influence. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, my thoughts about this are very interesting, because when I look back and I compare these signs with other signs in Europe, or the US, or all around the world, you realize that this is the beginning of communication. This is the beginning of writing, and even this is the beginning of art. I mean, art and language it's all connected to a feeling, and so to a ritualistic or a spiritual feeling. I mean, it's very interesting. It's like we're actually taking knowledge from the gods, you could say, by enacting these rituals. Your sense of reality changes, because people get to communicate, and this is why you see that some of the signs they repeat. They repeat and they repeat and they repeat, and these repetitions, this constant repetition, they must have a meaning. But we do not know actually right now what's the exact meaning of these signs. We can approach and have an idea, but we really can find out actually what it means for these people. But it's very interesting. It's very interesting because this is a story of us.
Love it. It is the story of us. And to what you said about some signs repeating, there are some sort of stick man looking figures. They're the inverted Y, and some have arms, some don't. So it looks, but then some of them are stacked and some have inverted hands. And I'm even picking up glimpses of the plasma man. Have you ever heard of that? The 4 with the 2 dots on either side that denote this plasma?
Yes, I have seen the image.
It kind of looks like you've got a couple of those possibly in here as well, which is very interesting. I mean, that tells of a great apocalypse. A plasma type apocalypse is how it's been interpreted. And so there's just some really interesting things in here. And it does look like as they repeated, they didn't really, I'm going to say, improve or change. So that means that what they were seeing and noting, they wanted you to know about, and they wanted you to know about it several times. And like I said, there's even like a Windows sign. It's like a square box with a T running through the center of it that looks like 4 panes on a window, and this is repeated several times. The dots in patterns, the line progressions,
Exactly. Even in the first image which I send you, which has the enhancing, the computer enhancing, they call it a scalariform because it's representative to a stairway sort of a sign, you know. But it's interesting because it's repeating in different panels, and it must had the meaning. Now getting to that meaning is it's part of the mystery, you know. Perhaps the boulder will let you know what it meant at some point. But right now, what I can tell you for sure is that these signs, these rock art paintings have impacted me, have made an impact in my life, because before this I only saw in books, you know.
Well, I can imagine.
I saw in books. I have a lot of books about that, but this is the first time actually I'm confronting this, and I'm so amazed that in Venezuela we have this, and now we can share it with the rest of the world.
You know, I'm curious too with your compass layout here. Have you been able to take those lines and send them off and find out if they're, number one, connected to any sort of geomagnetic anomalies like ley lines or anything like that? And second part to that question is, do they also perhaps meet up or point to any other megalithic sites around the world?
Well, we have been looking for different places around already in this area, but what we can see, as the boulder is isolated on a savanna, every line, every single panel, if you step on it and look, you know, with a panel on your back, you will see a landscape that you won't believe it. I mean, these mountains, the tepuis that I'm showing you, that's what you see. That's what you see. You have a really expanded view. And this, for instance, this tepui, the Acopan, which is towards the west of the boulder, is amazing. It's something unbelievable. I mean, you have to be there to actually experience. And I tell you, this the paintings are really marvelous, but the landscape, it makes you wonder. You know, it's just so amazing.
A picture of the plateau that you sent is just gorgeous, as well as just this far shot of the boulder. I'm going to set that as my desktop background. It's gorgeous. You just want to hang out there. It's got the eagle, you know, feature kind of on the top. Unbelievable, man. I can't believe that this is there. Have you camped on this thing? Like, have you been able to stay in the area overnight?
No, not yet, because right now we're planning another trip. So we can collect more data, but it will be nice. It will be very nice, because the night sky at that place should be fantastic. Since you have nothing, I mean, there is not a single line, nothing. Your closest village is 100 kilometers or more away. So, you know, you're in the middle of nowhere. And another thing that you asked me about this place, as part of the landscape, this is something that is recently being studied. You know, how these rocks, they're not just rocks next to a river or in the middle of, you know, a bush or a savanna area, but how these places are actually connecting to the landscape. And this is very interesting, and it's developing right now in archaeology, because the landscape really had an impact on the people. It was part of their culture. It's you can talk about the cultural landscape.
This is the realities frozen in time we're talking about, and it's so interesting. And even the landscape being as gorgeous as it is, it's changed over time. So what it must have originally looked like just blows the mind. Let me ask you also, have you or are you planning on doing a ground penetrating radar study to see if that cave goes anywhere, if there's a system underneath there anywhere?
Well, regarding to the cave, it's interesting because basically in the past, caves were places for burying people. So I think that perhaps we could find remains of people, perhaps not, but this is a question we have right now. And it's interesting because in archaeology, everything starts with a question. I mean, if you ask yourself the proper questions, then you will have probably the proper answers. But it doesn't work all the way. I mean, we don't excavate for excavate. We're not treasure hunters, like like puzzling and wondering if there will be something here or not. But we have to have questions. I'm not a bioarchaeologist, and this is another specialty. Wherever you find human remains, this is the work of somebody else, some specialist. Same with everything, with artifacts. This last trip, we found artifacts on the ground, which I didn't see the last time. Amazing. I saw a lot of debitage, broken arrow points, and cores, and scrapers, sorry. So some other microblades that you can use it today, and they will cut like a sharp knife.
Damn.
And you can tell that this is brought by the people to the place because the geology of these artifacts doesn't belong to the area. So the people, they were moving through, and they were walking through this area, and this perhaps was not a regular habitation area, this Boulder. These people, they came here following animals migrating, herds of animals migrating, going through this valley. So this was probably also a hunting cabin, if you could say that.
Oh, yeah.
A hunting place where you could look at the valley and you could see the herds of animals. So you meet there at the season time, and you will do this 1 year after another year, after another year, after another year.
Yeah, it seems to be a great place to meet. It's because it's such a landmark, right? And then people will note maybe their travels or their hunt, and perhaps that's what the significance of some of these are, and that's why they're layered. Maybe it's like, oh, this year we hunted this, and then over the top of it next year, and then just kind of add to it as a kind of a record of their time or a record of spiritual experiences they had, because there's high reverence for folks in our ancient past, especially in South and North America, that had a high reverence for the animals that they were hunting. Everything is spiritual. We talk about circle cultures, to where they fit inside of a system, where they're all part of the same system. So there's this high reverence, and there's this spiritual experience that goes along with the hunt. And you can imagine these fathers taking their sons later, up to the same spot they've been hunting the entire time, and maybe having their sons make their mark and tell the stories of their fathers and grandfathers that came before, in this just reverence of tradition and love of nature and reality, and being one with this area is just mind-blowing, man. I love everything about this.
Yeah, well, as we said before, this is a story of us. Definitely, there were fathers there with their sons, and their sons, they were becoming men at the time of making their first hunt, perhaps. And this is no different from now. It happens even today in many societies. But the interesting thing is that it has been studied in Europe and other Paleolithic areas, is that these people, they were probably painting before hunting. I mean, they were hunting the animal on the walls in the very beginning. They were already visualizing hunting the animal and how they wanted to have it, surrounded and killed. And this is what they were performing before they were going to hunt. They were enacting this ritual in order to achieve good hunting. And this is very interesting, because there's some rock art paintings in some caves in Europe, where you can see the animals actually are. They actually have a spear on them. They were already killed before people going after them. They were already dead. It's how their mind was making it up. They were visualizing. They were actually doing the act of killing in their minds before they went to hunt.
My God, that's deep, because you think about it like a vision board and manifestation. You visualize and then enact. And so, yeah, they scripted it out. They plan just like a football play or something like that. They have this organization to it, to where they're like, okay, I know we can do these things. I saw it in a vision. We're having these sacred experiences. If we map it out like this is how it will play out. Man, this is so deep as far as like predictive programming that we encountered on today's world and how it's used. But this ancient form of visualization and then execution, That's a fascinating concept. What made you think of that?
Well, no, actually, people does it today. I mean, you have a lot of coach or other new era, healers that let you know that you have to convince yourself in order to get cured. You have to see yourself curing your mind before actually it happens. You have to really, I mean, you have to alter your reality before altering your body. And this is very interesting because this is where we all get connected. And we're no different from these people thousands of years ago. They were somehow connecting. They were changing something within themselves in order to change their surrounding reality. They actually, and the thing, probably the difference is that these people, they really had it as part of their culture, and it happened. I mean, if we excavate there, for sure we will find bones from the distinct animal these people hunted. And this is the confirmation of their hunt. I mean, it was a cycle. It was something repeating, year after year. And it's very interesting. And today is no different. People that, they're healers, they let you know that if you change your mind will change your body and you will heal.
See, this is what makes you so damn remarkable. And I like your humility. And this is a Dunning-Kruger effect, right? The people who don't know anything are super braggadocious and like, I'm the best ever. And you're so humble. But just what you said there, that's one of the deepest insights that anyone can come to. And what you're doing is you're already appreciating the as above, so below model. So you're thinking, well, if now we use this visualization technique, which just came about, what, in the last, let's say 20, 30 years max. I mean, you've got people like Napoleon Hill who've been doing this and stuff, but really in the mainstream, this is now being talked about a lot more. But for you, Jose, to mentally take this idea and then anthropomorphize it back in time to say, well, of course they would have done that as well, and then just draw such an amazing, mind-blowing, logical conclusion to the same point, this is what makes you spectacular, brother. Your insight into being able to, as above, so below, anthropomorphize back in time, and to get a better story or a better understanding based on our knowledge now of how they would have interpreted and approached their lives. I mean, this is fascinating, brother. Absolutely wonderful insight. Oh, I'm just blown away by all this, dude. This is so cool.
Well, let me tell you one thing. This is very interesting because we're getting to get this knowledge through science. It's science which is leading us to the knowledge, and not by reading a book about it, by experiencing it in person. So the impact I get right now, by first looking it on a book, read about it, and now I'm seeing it, now I'm studying it, now I'm getting to understand it. And this is mind-blowing for me. This is changing me. This is changing me because it's reaffirming everything that I have been seeing in the books, and I'm experiencing it firsthand. And this is how you get to the knowledge. But as science is a fantastic tool to get to knowledge. Knowledge itself is nothing if you don't share it. This is why scientists publish. You have to share knowledge, because the way that you do this, you're actually making a continuum. You're making these people talk. These people are the picture. They're alive right now. It's amazing. And you're connected to them. And you're not only connected to them, you're connected to the ones in Europe, you're connected to the ones in the US. I mean, you're connecting the past, you're connecting a past reality that at the end of the day, I could say it connects us all. It gives us a sense of unity. And this is the message.
But see, this is what's so remarkable about you in particular in your message. We've been seeing a lot of alterations in practices as far as science, religion, all of these things in an elevated level. And it looks like you're the first person that I've talked to as far as archaeology goes that has this new perspective integrated. So now you're advancing the study of even digging up old stuff or viewing our past through modern eyes. And it's just so interesting, the approach that you're taking with this. I mean, I've gotten goosebumps 25 times since we've been doing this, just at least. And it just feels like you are the next wave of this type of adventure explorer that's really looking to connect this on a deeper level that has no influence as far as, well, this company is paying me to do this and they want me to suppress a bunch of things, or the Smithsonian came in and they are, putting blackout bars over a few of these pictographs because they don't want you to know this knowledge. It's this type of thing, man. You're so open with exploring these ideas in such a fresh way that this is what's so refreshing about this, is honestly your interpretation of this. I am, again, blown away by you personally, but your work, your approach to this, and your discovery. And I think that that's why you are the one to make this discovery. I don't think that it wasn't for anyone else. The ancient peoples knew, maybe that's what's depicted on this rock art. Maybe you're going to decipher this stuff and they're going to spell out Jose Miguel Perez Gomez on there. And it was like an ancient version of you that wrote this, that knew you would come back and find it. It's interesting to me, man, the deep spiritual connections that you are also so aware of, but even being so pragmatic in your work and tying the two together. This is, again, the thing that excites me so much. So I love this, and I can't wait for you to publish this thing. And so we're going to get all of this up with the video, like I said, but I'd love to hear about a few more of your adventures if you don't mind, man. Do you mind talking to us about the shipwreck discovery that you made?
Well, again, this is not a shipwreck discovery I made or a rock shelter discovery I made. Some people already saw in the past, but as you already know, there are no facts in life but interpretations. So, and this is a niche quote. And it's like that. I mean, you're by interpreting something that somebody already saw or it was written somewhere, but by giving new interpretation, you come out with new facts. And more than that, in science, for instance, when you discover is when you publish. I mean, anybody could have seen this thousands of times. But there comes a scientist that study it and make a publication, and suddenly it's new. It's totally new. And this is very interesting because this is what technology is going to do with all of us. By applying new technologies on all archaeological places, we'll discover wonderful things. We will be, revisiting, and there will be new discoveries on the same place that people thought that it was already done. But not. It's just the beginning. And this is what we're facing. So with the shipwreck of the French fleet, it's very interesting because I got to know this story from people of the 60s that were doing spearfishing there. And they interpret what they saw in the water as pipes, iron pipes. I mean, these fishermen, they had not the knowledge. They had never seen a cannon before. So their interpretation, their reality about what they were looking at, it was just a metal piece of pipe. But for me, when I knew it, I knew that there was a shipwreck there, and those pipes, they could probably were cannons. And yes, they did. I counted so far nearly 130 cannons on the archaeological site. And this is just part of what that fleet had, because this fleet was the largest fleet ever seen in the Caribbean. And there were over 30 ships and carrying more than 5,000 men. Just imagine that at the end of the 17th century. I mean, it was the largest fleet ever seen in the world. And they were coming, actually, this is the French. This is a long story, but I can give you the web link so people can get to know more about this. But these French were coming to attack the Dutch in Curaçao. And at that time, they had no GPS, as you can imagine. They could know their latitude, but they could know their longitude. So they were lost. And they were lost in the moment where they needed most to know where they were. And when they thought they were in some place, they were actually running on top of the archipelago of Aves reefs, which are thousands of miles long, and you don't see them until it's too late. I mean, on a calm day, if you're sailing there, you don't see the reefs. And this is how I not only found this shipwreck, this massive shipwreck. We're talking about 12 ships that sank there in one single night. But we're talking that I also found distinct shipwrecks from distinct periods in the same context. So it's very interesting. But coming back to interpretations and discoveries, yes, somehow I did my thesis, my archaeology Bachelor of Arts thesis on the shipwreck, and this was the first time that the archaeological record was connected to the historical sources. So it's like it was the birth, basically, of the archaeological site, because many people knew. I mean, when you see there are hundreds of written of papers, or not historical information, but that's it. There was nothing archaeological connected to the historical sources. So this is what I did. And when I published my thesis, it was like a discovery. Yeah.
This is what's so cool is, yes, other people saw something, but you actually discovered what it was. And so that's what's so cool. Again, it denotes the fact that you're the person meant to see and interpret these things. It's like these were left as gifts for you to find later on. And again, in some life, I mean, if we're all one and we're all connected, you were on those ships. And so you kind of have like a spiritual insight, as long as you're able to see it with those eyes, and to be able to, I guess, dial into that former person and relive that in some way. Do you feel like you're able to do this on a level? Are you able to kind of connect and be drawn to an area based on that science can't explain or logic can't explain?
I don't understand quite well your question, but you're talking about the ships entering this area. Why the wreck is happening? Why was...
Yeah, just basically, it seems like you are able to go to any of these places that other people may have discovered or seen little bits of, but you seem to be drawn to these things to make a real interpretation of them, despite what other people thought they were that maybe saw them first.
Yes, well, this is very interesting what you're saying, because I am an archaeologist, but I'm not an expert in particular archaeological things. And what I could say I have is, initially, I have the sense of wonder, the sense of amazement, of curiosity. This is why I consider myself not only an archaeologist, but also an explorer. Exploration is part of the human nature. And an exploration starts with curiosity. People came out of Africa, perhaps not because they needed food or they were behind some herds of animals, but because of their curiosity. They wanted to know what was beyond, and then that makes them go from one place to the other. And this is how we migrate. This is just a particular idea, but we are explorers, all of us. The thing is that some people develop this condition, other people don't. But we all have it. We're all explorers. We're explorers when we're kids. When we're kids, we explore everything around the house. We go into places that even they're very dangerous. We want to know what's behind the electricity connector and things like that. We are explorers since we were born. And what I did is I continue this sense of exploration. But this sense of exploration came to me because of the amazement that things produce. When you look at the tree, and you really understand what the tree is, man, let me tell you, the amazement that you get when you get connected to what the tree really is and how the tree is connected to you. I mean, for instance, tree is giving you the oxygen you need to breathe, so which is your connection to the tree. And at the end of the day, it's not about the connection of the oxygen, but it's about the amazement to be connected and to get to know that. So this amazement is what is taking me one discovery after the other, and after the other, and after the other. This is how I've been past the last 42 years of my life. I have seen so many things so far that if I wanted to study them, I perhaps will need another couple of lives beside this one. And this also amazes me. amazes me, because this is not the only planet. I mean, we're now going to Mars. We have telescopes now looking back in time, and we are explorers. This is what I mean. But again, this exploration is nothing if you don't publish, if you don't tell others. I mean, because if you don't tell others, I mean, it's like it doesn't exist, actually. And it doesn't exist. So this is why for science it's important to publish, to communicate, and share this knowledge, because it's all I think life is all about evolution. It's all about going further. And now we have the opportunity, because we live in wonderful times, to connect to other people and to share these ideas, to get to know each other better. You're in Ohio now, I'm in Venezuela. We're thousands of kilometers away, but we're in present time right now. We're having feelings which actually are flowing through space, and this is relevant. This is all relevant. And this is what took me to the shipwreck. I spent now over 20 years, and I don't think I will finish to study this shipwreck in my life. If I continue now, I won't be able. So this is another sort of amazement. We're here discovering things that everything is a wonder. Everything is wonderful. I mean, I sometimes find no words to communicate what this feeling is, but we all have it. We all have this potential, and this is something very important, because all human beings, we have extraordinary potential, but we have to go after it. I mean, nature is not going to open that potential for you. You actually have to be curious. The curiosity, you have to have this key to open the mysterious, but nobody will do it for you. You have to go yourself. You have to go into a boat and dive into the water, or jump into a helicopter and go to the middle of nowhere to discover these things. And it's funny, because at the end of the day, I have come to realize that these things, they really don't make much sense, because at the end of the day, it's all about you. It's all about you. It's all about you there at the other side of the computer. It's all about us. The story of the French fleet is the story of us. It's the story of how men, feeling so powerful, feeling so strong, were defeated by nature. And it's interesting, because this changes the whole story. By the time the French fleet was going to attack Curaçao, I don't think there were more than 500 people in Curaçao Island. These people as a whole, there were 5,000. They were going to take over the islands. And after that, they had other plans in the area. Actually, there is a possibility that they were coming also to Venezuela area. And this is very funny, because 4 months, just 4 months after the shipwreck, there was a treaty between French, Spain, and the Dutch for signing the peace. So at that moment, the countries that this every nation had, they keep it, and this gives you an idea how the history could have changed in just a moment. If not, it wasn't because of that reef that stopped the French. If they made it to the Curaçao today, people will be talking French, and most probably we here in Venezuela too.
Well, a lot of people in South America speak German, and that's for another reason. But I do think that it's so interesting that you talk about this reef as an alteration to history, because yes, it would be so much different. And one might say that, the indigenous people were protected in a way, and that spirit kind of put that barrier up just from maybe this one instance. And we know that, coral takes tens of thousands of years to grow. So again, the domino effect that set things in motion, the 10,000 years maybe before that certain reef started to grow, saying, hey, there's going to be a bunch of French people running over here, and we're going to need to stop them. And this is how we do it. This is how we alter history. And it's in small little ways like that I think that this is so connected and so
incredible.
Deep.
This is incredible. This amazes me, because these ships, they were not ships. They were platforms for cannons. They were designed to intimidate, not to shoot. Just by having 4 of these ships in front of your port, at the end of the 17th century, you will be putting out your white flag. Yeah. You wouldn't have to engage with these people, you know. And even though with that, it's like a very, very small mice ended up with a lion. You know, this is a very interesting story, because the Dutch, they knew that they had no chance. They had no chance with this fleet, and they knew it. They were ready. They were ready for the attack, because there were boats, you know, passing by, and they let them know to the Dutch that the French were coming. But this one single event changed everything. It's incredible. Changed the lives of many, many people. And even though at least 200 men died in this one-night event, which was considered a Navy catastrophe. It was like a military defeat for the French. You know, it's very, very, very interesting, the story. And for me, it's amazing, because when you look at shipwrecks and the news, when they found the shipwreck, they find one shipwreck in the middle of, you know, the sea, wherever it is. But we're talking here that we have no less than 12 ships lying on the bottom of this reef. And every ship, at least 7 of them, they were ship of the line. They were enormous ships that had no less than 50, 60 cannons on board, and nearly 500 men every ship. I mean, we were talking of the best of that period of time. The best technology is on that reef right now. And I had the chance to study and to present it to archaeologists for the first time. And this was really, really important for me, and let me understood the relevance of publishing, even though when you're not going to end the study, but to publish, to let other archaeologists for the future to know, and you know, you already made some steps forward for them.
So
and
interesting.
This is the same situation with the Boulder. This Boulder will be a treasure for experts, for people that really are more advanced into knowledge that I am.
Again, your humility is remarkable, absolutely remarkable. And I love what you said about the ships, because, yeah, it's like a UFO invasion or something. It's the equivalent modern of a huge UFO just landing and us going, okay, yeah, no big deal. But it's also got a David and Goliath type story, the mice and the lion, like you said. And so it is this almost like divine intervention type of a thing, or that there's bigger things at work here, which is just so fascinating, man, that it's interpreted in that way. So let's talk about, if you don't mind, the Spanish fort that you discovered in the middle of a river. What's going on with that?
Well, that's a very interesting story going on, and this again, I was researching some ancient maps on a book, and I saw this map that at that very moment I did not know who was the person that drew it, but not even the book I was reading. They didn't know who did it. Now I know. But the thing is that they drove a small fortress on top of the islands in the middle of the Orinoco River, right in front of Puerto Ordaz, which is the biggest city. I mean, it's something that is in front. I mean, you go with a boat from Puerto Ordaz to this place, and on a single afternoon, you will go and see what I'm talking to you about. But that nobody saw, unless I saw it first on the map, this manuscript map. Then I went to the island, and then I found the fortress. And I was able to make a drawing of it. And then after that, it was really interesting because I found the plans for building it. And the plans and what I draw is quite similar. It's very, very similar. So you're on top of the fortress. But it's very interesting because this fortress was intended to protect the missions that were at that particular moment. We're talking here mid 17th century, and they were already missions of priests living there and making their lives there among the Indians. And the thing is that this particular area was really, really, or the Spaniards, they wanted to keep it protected and away from the British and the Dutch and other nations that wanted to go to this area, because where the fortress is the mouth of the Caroni River. And the Caroni River at that time, it was known to be the entrance to El Dorado.
So interesting. El Dorado, of course, is the city of gold, the fabled lost city of gold. That's yet to be discovered, right?
Yes. So these people had this fortress there. They intended for protecting the missionaries, but it had a second intention for the Spanish empire, which was to protect this area from other nations trying to get into, because they were already being like small battles in this area for the control of this particular entrance to go to this place that it was called by chronicles and it was depicted by many maps as the El Dorado, but which so far the studies shown that is very different from what people's idea about this place. Let's say, for instance, when the first explorers, they came into the New World, they were already familiar with the stories from Greek golden cities, Hindus golden cities. I mean, golden cities was already in the imaginary of these medieval people entering into the Renaissance. You know, so what they did is they translate these places into the New World, because if they didn't find it so far in the old world, these golden cities that all the mythologists talked about, you know, those gardens with the trees and golden apples and all these stories. So in their minds, they were entering the new. They were creating a new reality. By stepping on a boat and crossing the Atlantic Ocean, these people, they were making the budget of their lives. But in their minds, they had already had the connection with the stories from the Greeks, from the Hindus, and other civilizations about, not only about golden cities, but fantastic animals, you know, with heads, or without heads, and their heads on their chest, and many other fantastic animals that will eat the sheep and destroy them. I mean, these people actually were discovering not the world; they were discovering a new reality, and they were taking with them what they knew. And this idea of El Dorado that we have because of Hollywood or some other movie makers. Is that. But the fact is that this is not the reality that at least is shown by the data. And this is something very interesting, but it will take another program or two.
So interesting. Oh my God. Okay, so I want to talk to you about preparing for coming time. So we're talking about creating a new world and inspiring others here, which is just a wonderful message that you have, and I'm so inspired. And so let's talk about preparing for coming times, man. What are the times ahead of us, and how can we prepare?
Well, this is very interesting topic, because when you enter nature, you have to be prepared, my man. I mean, you can go hunt if you're not, at least, you know, you have been walking already, or you can you have been already going up the mountain, or you feel strong enough, you know, to carry not only a shotgun, but to carry your backpack, and you have to have somehow strong legs. And what I mean by preparing yourself is to take care of your body. Your body is your instrument for discovery. And if you want to go further into this rabbit hole of exploration and what discovery is, you have to have a good condition. You wouldn't want to go to the jungle if you're not prepared. So this is basically a message. The message that is not only good for exploring or doing archaeology or whatever, because it takes energy. It takes energy, it takes effort. I mean, it's not an easy task to go out there and move. So before you go out there and explore, you have to be prepared. You have to take care of your body. You have to, you know, kind of have good health, and this is very important. And when you said for the coming times, it's because we already know that the coming times, they don't look as good as we would like it to be, you know. And unfortunately, we are living right now a wonderful moment where, on the opposite hand, we also have a war going on that is oppressing many people all over, because it shouldn't be happening, but this is what we have. Nonetheless, here, for instance, where we live in Venezuela, we had several nature fatalities that happened in the past that could have not been avoided. But perhaps if some of those people were prepared, they were prepared for swimming, or for climbing on a tree, or for going on top of a rock, that probably could have saved their lives. And this is what I mean by getting prepared, because times ahead don't look quite good, and it's relevant that somehow, if you want to, let's say, survive, for instance, you have to be aware that you have to be prepared. I mean, no, I'm not a prepper. I'm not a prepper. I have not this philosophy of prepper. I like preppers. I like preppers, and I like them very much. But survival could happen any moment. I mean, you could be walking on the street anywhere, and if you're not prepared for the event that is coming to you, let's say a bus without brakes, if you're not really into it, you actually can be in a very strange situation, and this is what I mean by being prepared, because the times ahead are the times that actually currently we have. I mean, every day is a new day. In new day we have new possibilities, and I have learned through all my exploration time that you have to be prepared. No matter whether you're in the city, you're in the jungle, you're in the bush, you have to be prepared. And this is a message I would like to take your program to transmit to people, you know, to get in shape, you know, to care about themselves. Your body's like your car, man. Some people they care more about their car than their bodies.
They do. And this is your avatar. This is how you're traveling in this place. And what's the old adage? If you are always ready, you don't have to get ready, right? And I love this because this is the ultimate literal survival of the fittest. Like, if you're fit, you'll probably survive. If you're, you know, maybe 700 pounds in a rascal due to McDonald's and bad decisions, then that you're not going to be able to get out of the way of that bus. Or definitely when a tide comes or something, you're screwed. You know, you're not fit to survive situational awareness that goes on around you. Now, this also dovetails into this amazing thing that you created. Now, we don't sell things on this show, but we do offer things that are in alignment with what we talk about here. And you've done an awesome thing. Not only has this thing gone huge, but you just got a patent for it in the US. Now, I'm going to be linking this for sure in the show notes, but do you mind telling us about your product?
Well, this is very interesting because this product it became the story of my life. It's another amazement, because all of a sudden I had the need to continue being trained, but I found not the proper tool to do it. I do this routine, which is high intensity interval training. This is what I have been doing all my life. So I do lots of pull-ups. I do lots of dips and you know, push-ups, and I combine this into a routine that not only takes the effort of your muscles, but also takes your heart. So it's a cardio as well. And the results I've been getting from this system, they were so good that I need to have a machine for myself that could integrate this proper exercising, which actually people do. I mean, swimmers, they do HIIT, runners, they do HIIT, and this technique is quite well used, but I have developed a system for the upper body where you can do also these exercises. So I developed this product, and I developed for me. I didn't consider this as a business. I mean, I developed the product, I made the design, and all of a sudden somebody came and said, hey, I want one. I think it's a good thing. I have one too. And I realized after a while that I had at least no less than 20 friends of mine that they wanted the product. So I decided to start to produce the product. And it was very funny because I entered into a sort of business that I didn't know anything about this business. So I started with a very, very small hiring person that I had, a contractor. He had a small welding shop. And I started to ask this guy, gave him the plans. So he was building these machines. And all of a sudden, I was having so much people asking me for the product that this guy wasn't supplying at the same speed I was needing it. So I had to go there to talk to the guy in person. I never been there before, never saw the guy. He told me, hey, I can do this for you. I said, okay. So when I went to his shop, it happens that he had all my machines on the street. They were covering part of the street in front of his shop, and they were not finished. I mean, he had no space, not even people, so he could produce this. So I decided to give another sort of view to this possible business. So I became myself a businessman. I organized a shop big enough so I could be producing this. And I started to produce these machines. And all of a sudden, these machines, they were taking all my time. I wasn't even able to go to explore anymore because I had to take care of the business. And it was very funny because I had a huge area producing it. And they were really, really on demand. And at some point, I was delivering by thousands around the cities, around the country, in Venezuela, everywhere, the people. Right now, we're talking here, and there are people doing exercise on my equipment on the streets. And this is something very, very interesting, very, very, very curious to talk about and to make some philosophy about this. But this is something I am aware of. I'm talking to you, but right now there are people working in my machines. And the funniest thing is that most of these people, they're low-income people. These people that can't afford a gym. And they can go on a regular basis to a gym, but thanks to this equipment and the routine, because more important that the machine is the routine. I mean, you could have the machine, but if I don't explain to you how this routine is, it wouldn't be the same, you know? So it's very funny because at some point I have placed like over 10,000. I had thousands of my subscribers on my webpage. At some point, I had nearly 30,000 followers. We're talking here 15 years ago. I mean, we had not the word influencer yet on internet. But I was already having 30,000 followers that they wanted to know about me, what I was doing with the equipment and the routines and so on and so on. So every time that I sent an email, I collapsed the whole city system. And, you know, the people from the cable, they were calling me because I was sending spam to people and so on and so on. I say, well, listen, no, these are my subscribers. And it was very funny because many of these people had not the chance to go to the street because some places they were dangerous. I mean, some places here in Venezuela, they're not as you would like them to be, for instance. But some people don't feel secure. So they were asking me, hey, Jose Miguel, why don't you design something for the house? Something that you can have in the house. And fine, fantastic. So there were more people giving me this idea, so I put myself to work and I started to design a product that will have the same benefits, but you could have it in your house. Because it was funny, I knew some people that had my outdoor fitness equipment. They had it in the middle of their house. It's very funny, inside of the living room. Man, it's crazy. So I started to design this product, and after a while, I came with a prototype that was good enough, so people could use it. I was using it, and then I wanted to give a next step. And what I did, I went to the United States and found a good industrial designing company, and I asked them to adapt the product to the American market, because most of the American walls, they're basically drywall. They have these studs behind, but I didn't know that at that time. I say, well, how can I attach my product to the walls? So here comes these people, and they came back to me with a fantastic design that had this standard for attaching it to the studs. So that's it. I didn't need anything else. So After that, I went to patent the product because I knew I had something that was taking the past products a step forward. And this is very interesting because I'm not a designer, I'm not an inventor, but I had an idea and I went after it. You know, I put it into work, I put it into paper, I came out with it into reality. And to my surprise, after 5 years, the patent office of the United States gave me a patent of invention, which is remarkable because it's again like publishing something. I mean, an invention patent is no different from a scientific paper. If you look at the scientific paper and a patent paper, is the same. Basically, it's the same. You're presenting something new. And I wasn't very confident that the patent office was going to give me the patent, and I was worried because it's very expensive. I mean, this is not peanuts. It comes expensive, and mostly because of the lawyers, which are my good friends, by the way. You have to be always good friends with the lawyers. So we got the patent, and that was remarkable because the patent says something that that impacted me in some way, because it said that I was contributing to knowledge. I was contributing to society somehow. You see, they were giving me because they realized that there was an improvement. I mean, I did something that came out to be something good for the people. And I said, well, thank you, God. I mean, I can say no other thing because I wasn't expecting. When I was a kid or when I was at the school, I never considered myself an inventor. Actually, I don't consider myself an inventor. But I was able to do some invention now. And this is what I am presenting to the people because this is a good way to get prepared and at home. And anybody could use it, which is the other good thing about this product, that it's a universal fitness equipment. A very, very, let's say, a huge person or a fat person or a blind person or a person on a wheelchair or anybody with any disruption of mobility, they could use it to improve flexibility, strength. Even when you can do one pull-up, the equipment has a system where it will take you from 0 to 10 pull-ups. And this is very interesting because, again, there is no difference from the boulder, from the shipwreck, from this invention. It all starts by curiosity. It all starts by amazement. It is all connected. You know, it's all connected. I'm just taking advantage of it. You know it. I'm aware of it.
You're aware of it, and that's why it's so incredible and so successful, man. I mean, you're a renaissance man. You can just do it all, and this is why I wanted to mention it as well as let folks know about it. I'm going to be linking it down in the show notes as well as all the ways to find you. So, guys, definitely check that out. And we have so much more to talk about, man. My mind's just blown on this. So, guys, definitely stick around. Check out the show notes for sure on all the ways to find him. Jose Miguel.
I used to say Jose Miguel because my last names for Anglo-American speaking people is not so easy. So Jose Miguel will be fine with me, and I appreciate this because actually I just started a campaign in the U.S. just a few days ago. I mean, it's a coincidence that you're interviewing me now. And now people is getting to know this of this project through your program, which wasn't intended. I didn't ask this.
Yeah, no, and this is something
asking for.
This is my call because it's so fantastic, but it just ties into you and what you're able to accomplish. Again, just the thing that you built is a lifetime for someone on its own, but you decided to make this discovery and contribution, which is brilliant in the same fashion that you do all the other things. And so I wanted to bring it up as a scope for your reality and what you're able to contribute here because you are just one of the most fascinating people.
And this is it. And this is the final message. I mean, the knowledge means nothing if you're not able to share it. You have to share knowledge with the people. You know, you have to share your ideas, your feelings, whatever, but share it. You know, and better if publish it.
Could not agree more. You're just so fantastic, Jose Miguel. Gracias para tu tiempo, amigo. We will do it again soon. Thank you so much.
Thanks to you, man, my friend, and just let me know when we have another chance to meet. perhaps in person.
Oh, definitely. I'm going to take you around. Me and you are going to do a road trip around the U.S. and see petroglyphs, and I just want to see you. I want to go with you to places and see what you see that's not been discovered yet on places that are already out there for all of us to go check out. So we'll do that, man. We'll book that. Come on up anytime, dude. I would love this. The ultimate road trip.
We will see something new. For sure, we will see something new. You don't have to have new places, but perhaps new eyes.
See what I tell y'all? Absolutely fascinating, mind blown. There are so many things we talked about off air actually that I wish we would have recorded and put out. So all this tells you guys is that we have so much more to discuss. Jose is a wealth of information, wisdom, and knowledge, and I just can't wait for the next one. There's so much more with him to enjoy in the future, guys. So in the meantime, check out all of the links in the show notes. I think just his Facebook and his academia papers are what's down there. That's the way to find the guy. He's busy out flying helicopters and rock climbing and scuba diving and flooded caves in South America, so he's not really around the social media much, and that's fine. I'm grateful for the opportunity to be able to speak to him for the time that I did. So, guys, check out all of the links for him in the show notes. Unbelievable dude. So grateful, Jose. Mucho gracias, amigo. So while you're down in the show notes as well, guys, check out our resource links with Food Forest Abundance. Get that freedom from fear on. Also, Libsyn, if you'd like to start your own podcast, which I encourage everyone to do. That's why I am very passionate about that affiliate link. It's got nothing to do with, me making a little extra coin. It's about giving you guys the opportunity to give yourself your own voice, and I highly, highly encourage that. So while down there as well, check out OPUS, the Organization for Paranormal Understanding and Support, Lester Velez's jam, and it is awesome for all resources related to the paranormal phenomena, any abductions that you guys may have felt that you've experienced or missing time, any of that kind of stuff, guys. He's got you covered. Check the link marked OPUS. Also, while you're down there, check out expandingrealitypodcast.com. That's going to be links for everything. All of our lives are replayed there. Too cool or too hot for YouTube. It's way too hot for YouTube. It's all there for free. Also, you feel free to sign up as an Expansive Insider, and that is where you get access to the really cool collaborations that I'm doing with Dave Zed. We've got Andy from the Deep Share podcast, Andy Rouse over there doing some cool stuff as well. Matt Terillian and us are doing an incredible breakdown on Starford. So, guys, there's a lot to explore over there, as well as you can sign up for our program if that's just the way you want to help the show out. I'm open to receive, so bring it. I think it's like $7.77 a month. We made it nice and fun for you. Or there's another option for if you want to throw your boy cool mill. I'll take you for go-karts and like putt-putt mini golf for the day, and that'd be awesome. Well spent. That's a bargain, by the way. I'm a blast. So, guys, other than all of that stuff, go out into this beautiful place, whatever the thing this is, and y'all pick up a piece of litter. Of course, keep that beautiful mind open to how amazing this place actually is. And thanks to Jose, we can really say that. There are still tons of mysteries out here to explore, all of them exciting, and it's way better than paying attention to what the stupid news is trying to tell you to do. So go out, like I said, into this beautiful place, pick up a piece of litter while you're doing all that, buy somebody in line around you a coffee or a meal, something super small, sends that massive ripple effect through the collective just on that one little thing, as well as just be nice to everybody that you come across, even just opening a door or smiling at someone. It's the biggest way to make an impact. Show up for yourself, because the world is a mirror to you, probably, right? And if it's not, it should be. And if you treat it that way, it is. So this is the way this place works. It's mysterious and amazing. So go take yourself up on a greater, grander version of yourself, always. And of course, get out of the left-hand lane. That's a wonderful way to do that. You got somebody wanting to pass there when you're automotiving your way around anywhere you're at. Just get the hell out of the left-hand lane, let them be on by, and then get over there and do whatever the hell you're doing, not paying attention. So also, go out into this incredible place, guys. Again, full of wisdom, wonder, mystery, unbelievable cool things, and y'all just be good to one another. Thank you so much for listening. We will see you next time.